Hey guys, Jack here with Miyagi Mornings episode. What is it? I don't know, 17? Yeah, 17. So, anyway, yesterday was kind of a deep topic. It probably seemed political to some, though I don't think it really was because it's not about picking a side. It's about being yourself when we talk about agorism and anarchism. Today I got something that'll appeal to everybody, I hope. Anyway, it has absolutely nothing to do with politics, other than politics may be part of what's wrong with the stress in your brain that this will help with. And it's the value of a garden beyond the fact that it produces food for you to consume for your family and makes you money. Like, you can literally print money by growing food and growing plants. I don't know if you know that or not. You can, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the immeasurable things that it brings to you. The first thing, and this was spawned by a comment that came into me yesterday, was can you talk about the benefit of being able to come home from a job and vent to your garden? To be able to come home and just like, and let go of the day's crap that's built up on you. Where you come home and there's like this dark, murky shit cloud on you, and you don't want to talk to your wife or your husband or your kids because you know you're going to be a dick, and you don't want to be a dick to your family, and the reason you're going to be a dick has nothing to do with them. Like, there's literally nothing they can do that's right now that won't make you angry because you're already angry. So anything that isn't exactly what you want to hear will make you angrier. That's what happens when you're angry. That's how you get. This might seem a little bit weird, but man, I don't have to think hard about this at all. This was me before I started doing my podcast and walked away from corporate America. I worked as a C-level officer in a holding corporation managing 3 other corporations. So basically, I was doing the job of basically 4 C-level officers. Do you know what that means? That means you have to be an asshole all day, every day, nonstop, and you're responsible for everything, and you have to deal with crap on a constant daily basis that you don't want to deal with, and you have to deal with, it's a lot like being in the military and being an NCO or an officer. You're dealing with grown-ass adults that can't behave like grown-ass adults. That's part of running a company. And you have to be the one in charge. You have to be the one to make the tough decision all day, every day, and then you come home and your wife wants to know, what do you want me to take out for dinner tomorrow? Can you make a decision? That's not a reasonable response, but it's how you feel. Like, I've done nothing but make decisions. It's freaking Thursday. I've made decisions nonstop, 12 hours a day for 4 days in a row, and I fought traffic. I don't want, and you know what I would do? I would come home. I'd walk in. I'd fake it till I made it, right? Give her a kiss, say hello, whatever, and right out the back door, and I would water the garden. And people say, why don't you automate that garden? Like, you have, a bunch of them around here are automated. No, at that time, I wasn't going to automate. That was something for me to do. I came home, maybe I had a beer while I did it, put some music on the cell phone or whatever, turned the garden hose on, and I watered the garden. And you know what happened to me? By the time I was done with that, I was a human being again. I could go in and be a good husband and a good father. And if somebody asked me, what do you want to take out for dinner tomorrow? I don't know, what do you want? And I could have a conversation about it without being a dick. Why? Because it rerouted me, pun intended, into what it is to be a human being. When we put our hands in soil, when we co-create with nature, we're doing something that's innately human. And it's why it feels good. Even when, think about it, there's not a lot of things that people do, unless they're trying to get in shape and be like Arnold or whatever, lifting weights and all, that is as much work as gardening is, that they do voluntarily for such a really low return based on the energy input threshold. Now, there's ways to make gardening a lot easier, and I do a lot of that now, but, a lot of gardening is a lot of hard work, and people willingly do it. And they're not just doing it for some tomatoes and peppers. I guess if you're a subsistence gardener like I was when I was a kid, yeah, maybe you are. But for a lot of people, it's just a hobby. Well, it's because we co-evolved with plants on this planet. And we were the one species, because squirrels and stuff like that, they might garden by accident. Everything gardens is a permaculture principle. But when it comes down to it, we're the only species on this planet that's like, oh, that tastes good. Maybe if I take this piece of it and put it in the ground over here, more of it will grow. Oh, it did. And then cultivate that and then figure out, like, if I pick all the big ones and save the seeds from those, I can make more big ones. We're the only ones that ever did that. And we've been doing that For tens of thousands of years, we've been cohabitating with plants, and we've been planting and growing and breeding and selecting and caring for plants. We've done it as forest gardeners, as hunter-gatherers. There are places in Southern California that I visited where there were systems that were 250 years into decay after the natives were removed, before we realized the reason they were in decay is that they were not being cared for anymore. Things like the manzanita trees that were being actually gardened by hunter-gatherers in a way that didn't even look like a garden, as though we think something like permaculture is a new thing or forest gardening is a new thing. And they lasted over 200 years before they began to really break down. That's how little care they required, but the care was required. So to me, the value of a garden is as much emotional and spiritual as it is from the food that we gain from it. It does so much for us. It improves our property values. It gets us outside. It gets us in contact with microbes. Maybe one of the reasons we have so much problem with disease and illness in our society today is not only is our diet garbage, but we're not being exposed to the natural biology that we're supposed to be exposed to, that we come up with. This really isn't that hard to understand. I listened to Jeff Lawton one time, said if you want to get into longevity, here's what to do. Don't travel much. Stay where you are. Go outside a lot. Eat the plants that grow there. Get bit by the bugs that live there. Play in the dirt that is there. And you'll find that people that do that tend to live longer lives. I never fact-checked that, but I've learned something about Jeff Lawton, much like his mentor Bill Mollison. You know, even if the claim is outlandish, you can just stop fact-checking after, when you fact-check somebody about 80 times, you can finally go, okay, all right, unless there's a compelling reason to doubt this, I'm going to go along with it. That's how I feel about Jeff and that claim. And I believe that if you track that down, you'll find out a lot of these societies where they say, well, they eat bitter melon or they eat whatever, like in southern Japan, they have these, more centaurians than any other society, and they eat bitter melon. But what they have in common is they're all outside every day, they walk every day, they have a spiritual meaning in their life, and they garden, and they get bit by the bugs that are there, and they put their hands in the soil that's there, and they live really, really long lives. You can't emulate that by eating sweet potatoes and bitter melon, unless you're growing sweet potatoes and bitter melon, and you're getting your hands in your soil, and you're getting bit by the bugs that live where you live, and you're cohabitating with the biology in your region, and you're getting that spiritual boost from being part of the co-creation of life. With that, it's been Jack Spirko with another episode of Miyagi Mornings. We'll be back tomorrow with another one.